Heartwarming twist: after being kicked out, I discovered an incredible secret at the will reading. Life had thrown Sarah a gut punch. First the diner closed, leaving her with nothing but bills and heartbreak. Then the landlord kicked her out of the little house she had turned into a home for herself and her 5-year-old son, Tommy. It felt like a thunderstorm had rolled through, leaving behind nothing but chaos and muddy footprints. With each tear she wiped away while packing, the weight of despair settled deeper into her chest. Sarah had loved that home. It held laughter, warmth, and the sweet scent of apple pie baked on Sunday afternoons. But now, all hope seemed lost. When she knocked on Mr. Thompson's door, she was filled with shame, her heart hammering. The retired military man had always been kind, a beacon of wisdom in their tight-knit community. But asking for help felt like admitting defeat. Yet, he welcomed her with open arms, his face creasing into a warm smile. "You and Tommy are always welcome, Sarah. Your family." Just those words made her feel lighter. In those moments of vulnerability, a flicker of hope ignited within her once more. Before she knew it, life shuffled along, and Sarah began to rebuild. The community rallied around her. Donations, meals, and encouragement flowed in like a river. But then, fate tossed her another curveball. The news hit her hard: her estranged father had passed away. Memories from her childhood burst to the surface like bubbles in a soda can. Family gatherings where laughter danced with hurt, moments overshadowed by disappointment. She hadn't spoken to him in over a decade, and the news struck a chord deep within, tugging at the seams of her heart. At the will reading, she felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her. Surrounded by relatives she barely knew, she braced herself for the inevitable awkwardness, only to be blindsided. Not only had he left her a modest house in town, something she never expected, but a leather-bound journal filled with his regrets and dreams. As she opened its pages, the old paper crinkled beneath her fingertips, each word spilling out haunting tales of a man she'd lost along with her own childhood. As she absorbed his handwritten confessions, each line stirred emotions: anger at his absence, sadness for what could have been, longing to understand the man who had once been her father. The journal transformed her perception, showing struggles and victories that mirrored her own battles, blending the essences of their lives. Late into many nights, Sarah poured her own thoughts onto pages, sparked by her father's revelations. With every penned sentence, she found herself transforming the pain into stories of resilience, her struggles becoming chapters that drove her forward. Just as she began to embrace this new path, financial troubles loomed back in, threatening to stomp out the small flame of hope she had started to nurture. Doubt clawed inside her, but then the community stood up again. People showed up with meals, shared childcare, and reminded her of the strength that ran deep through their town. This urged her to honor her father's memory and fight for Tommy's future. But with each new connection, the looming truth lingered like dark clouds. What had her father really kept hidden? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing at the crossroads of her past and this unexpected future, the weight of her father's secrets pressed down like a heavy fog. As she turned the final pages of the journal, a single question echoed in her mind: would unveiling these truths pave the way for healing, or would the shadows of her father's life forever haunt her own? Sarah could feel the stirrings of change bathed in a swirl of hope and trepidation, leaving her at the edge of a revelation yet to come. The days after the will reading were a blur for Sarah. Each morning, she woke up, pulled on the same worn-out sweater, and sipped coffee that barely warmed her hands. The journal lay open on her nightstand, beckoning her to dig deeper into her father's tangled history. But today, she felt a spark of determination igniting within her. She wasn't going to let fear dictate her next steps any longer. Tommy bounded into the room, his little feet pattering like rain against the hardwood floor. With his wild hair and bright eyes, he reminded her that hope often wore a child's face. "Mommy, can we go to the park today?" he asked, his excitement bubbling over. "Of course, buddy. Let us make it an adventure," she replied, happiness pushing aside her worries for a moment. The park was filled with laughter and the sweet sound of children playing. As Tommy ran ahead to the swings, Sarah couldn't help but smile. But then her thoughts drifted to the journal. Heavy words sat on her heart. What if she found something devastating about her father? As she watched Tommy glide through the air, soaring high on the swing, an idea sparked. Maybe she could write him a letter, letting him know how much she missed the father he should have been. But also, she felt a yearning to uncover the truth behind his life, a story that might reshape how she viewed him. Later that evening, when Tommy was tucked in bed, Sarah brought the journal back into her lap. She could feel the texture of the leather beneath her fingers, the weight of their shared history pressing on her soul. Flipping through the pages, she found a section with dates and names scrawled in a messy hand. It looked different, almost frantic. With her breath catching, she began to read. The names were connected to places she recognized, old neighborhoods, several homes, and people she couldn't recall. Each entry told stories of broken dreams and fleeting joys. One stood out, a date circled with a red pen, the winter of 1998. "I lost everything that winter, including my daughter," it read. The words hit her like a tidal wave. What did he mean? She whispered, confusion swirling like leaves in the wind. The phrase, "including my daughter," echoed in her mind like a lost echo. Had she missed something crucial all those years? Desperate for clarity, she flipped to the back of the journal. There, she found a folded letter tucked between the pages. Her heart raced as she unfolded it, revealing writing that was different yet unmistakably his. "Sarah, if you ever find this," her hands trembled. As she continued to read, revelations poured out, each sentence heavier than the last. Her father's admissions were dripping with sorrow, regrets she had never suspected. He spoke of mistakes and a longing to reach out, a plea for forgiveness that seemed too late. She felt the walls close in, a mixture of anger and sadness coursing through her veins. "I should have known," she whispered. The flicker of hope she had clung to now faded, replaced by a storm of conflicting emotions. Suddenly, a knock came at the door, startling her. Mr. Thompson stood there, worry etched on his face. "Sarah, is everything all right?" he asked. "Not really," she confessed, feeling utterly exposed. As she looked into his concerned gaze, she realized she needed to talk about her father's past. "Can we sit?" she asked, a lump forming in her throat. Just as the words were starting to spill from her lips, something rang in her mind. What if this was the beginning of understanding her father? Fueled by the winds of change, Sarah felt the first stirrings of courage, knowing she could reclaim the narrative. But as she spoke, would her father's shadow still loom over her, or would it finally start to dissolve? What would Mr. Thompson say? Would he have the answers she desperately sought, or would he only add to the confusion? The weight of the unknown pressed down heavier than before, setting the stage for a confrontation she didn't see coming. As Sarah invited Mr. Thompson into her small living room, an unexpected surge of emotions rippled through her. She could feel the weight of the journal resting beside her, its pages filled with the words of a father she felt she barely knew. She gestured to the couch, trying to steady her racing heart. "Thank you for coming," she began, her voice shaky. "Of course. You looked like you could use a friend." He settled in, his brows knit with concern. "What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah glanced at the journal. "It's about my father, the will, and everything that's come to light since. I've stumbled upon some things that have me questioning everything I thought I knew about him." The words spilled out as if they were an unspent rush of water. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, his eyes attentive. "Tell me what you found." Just then, in the quiet of her living room, their connection deepened. Sarah could sense that Mr. Thompson was there to listen, truly listen. With each word she spoke about her father's regrets, the heavy darkness that had held her captive began to loosen its grip. "There's a letter in the journal. He talks about losing everything including his daughter. I don't even know what that means. Was I not enough? Why didn't he come back? Sarah's voice broke, and she felt hot tears begin to form them. Thompson reached out, his hand resting over hers. It sounds like he carried a heavy burden. Sometimes parents think they're protecting us by keeping their pain hidden. They make choices that seem impossible to understand from our perspective. What if I'm just a reminder of what he lost? She whispered. The thought stirred a painful nausea within her. Or maybe a chance for him to start again, Mr. Thompson replied gently. You have your own story, Sarah. Your own chance to write it how you want. She took in his words, letting them swirl around her like a gentle breeze bringing clarity. In this moment, she realized that while her father's mistakes defined part of her past, they didn't have to dictate her future. I want to know the truth, she said, her heart steadied by determination. But there's so much pain there. What if I regret digging deeper? Then you'll face it together, he replied firmly. Regrets can often be remedied with understanding. You owe it to yourself to explore it, even if it's hard. The thought resonated with her, igniting a flicker of bravery. She understood that running away wouldn't bring her peace. Before she could speak again, she remembered the letter nestled within the pages of the journal, the one that could hold the key to unlock a piece of her father's fractured soul. Mr. Thompson, she began, urgency in her tone, there's more. I found a letter he wrote. There may be answers that could change everything. Then let's read it together, he encouraged. As she reached for the journal, questioning if she really wanted to absorb the reality of her father's words, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Glancing at the screen, her heart stopped. It was a message from an unknown number. I know the truth about your father. Meet me tomorrow. A shiver ran down her spine. Who was this person? And what truth did they hold? The walls of her once secure world rattled at the thought of another unknown. Sarah. Mr. Thompson's voice cut through her shock, pulling her back. What is it? She looked at him with wide eyes, a mix of fear and curiosity. I think I'm about to uncover more than I bargained for. With every word she would share, would she invite both clarity and chaos into her life? Would this be a leap into the light, or a plunge into darkness? As the message lingered in her mind, Sarah wondered if she was ready for what lay ahead. The message loomed over Sarah like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. She glanced back at Mr. Thompson, his expression mirroring the concern swirling inside her. What if the truth is something terrible? She whispered, barely able to wrap her head around it. Then you take it, one breath at a time, he replied, his voice steady. You've already shown strength today. Learning the truth about your father could be painful, but it may also be the light you need. His words sparked something in her. Maybe she had the strength to face whatever came next. After all, she was already fighting to reshape her understanding of her father. Surely, she could handle the truth of his past. A sense of purpose washed over her. Taking a moment to collect her thoughts, Sarah turned toward the journal resting on the coffee table. The heavy, leather cover felt familiar and alien all at once. You don't think this message is some cruel joke, do you? She asked, her voice trembling. I think it's a chance, Mr. Thompson replied. A chance to find clarity. But you need to decide what this means to you. With newfound determination, she reached for the journal. Let us read the letter first. I need to understand my father's side before I meet this person. As she flipped through the pages, each one seemed steeped in memories and echoes of past choices. The letters that lined the pages held her father's thoughts, his pain intermingled with love and regret. She could almost hear his voice as she read, imperfect yet fervent. Her heart raced as her fingers brushed against the love he once had for her. Here it is, she said, heart pounding as she found the letter. It's dated just weeks before he left. Mr. Thompson leaned in closer, the tension palpable in the room. Sarah closed her eyes and breathed deeply, grounding herself. Here was a moment of truth, one she had been unconsciously yearning for. With a shaky breath, she began to read aloud, "My dearest Sarah, I write this not just for you, but for myself. I fear I've lost my way, and I can't bear to lose you too." She paused, the words slicing deep, evoking emotions she hadn't fully processed. The warmth of nostalgia clashed with the coldness of betrayal. What did he mean? She murmured, grappling with her own feelings. How could he write that and then walk away? Tears stung her eyes as the disconnect between his affection and abandonment laid heavy on her heart. "Maybe the struggle he faced was greater than you realized," Mr. Thompson suggested gently. "His decisions reflect his pain. You can't own that, Sarah. You didn't cause it." Finding comfort in his words, she pressed on. "Sometimes I think about what it would have been like if he hadn't left, if he had stayed to show me who he was, to guide me." Her voice broke again, and she felt not only grief but a longing for closure. In that silence, the air thickened, as if the universe was waiting for her next words. Sarah wiped a tear, mustering her courage. "I have to meet this person who sent the message. Maybe they can answer the questions I have about everything." Mr. Thompson nodded, a soft smile on his face. "You're stronger than you know, Sarah. Facing the unknown isn't easy, but it may lead to the peace you seek." With a determined look, Sarah realized how crucial this moment was. She wasn't just uncovering secrets about her father. She was reclaiming her own narrative. "Tomorrow, then," she murmured, anticipation coiling in her stomach like a spring. "But what if this person has answers I'm not ready to hear?" As she pondered the uncertainties that lay ahead, she felt a surge of bravery pulse through her, signaling a shift. Life held fragility, but there was also a flicker of hope. "Whatever comes next, you'll face it head-on. You're not alone in this," Mr. Thompson reassured her, his warmth wrapping around her like a blanket. As she prepared for the meeting, Sarah knew one thing for sure: this journey was driving her deeper into her father's shadow. But perhaps it was also the first step toward finding herself in the wake of that storm. What truths awaited her, and would they help her stitch the pieces of her shattered world back together? With her heart simultaneously heavy and hopeful, she knew there were answers just beyond her reach. As morning light filtered through the curtains, a soft glow wrapped around Sarah, mingling with the whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. The weight of the upcoming meeting sat heavily on her shoulders. Today was not just another day, it was a crossroads, a potential unraveling of all the truths she thought she knew. After showering and dressing in her favorite blue sweater for comfort, Sarah stared at her reflection in the mirror. She took a moment to breathe, trying to imagine what it would feel like to finally piece together the fragments of her father's life. The fear of disappointment gnawed at her again. What if the answers were worse than she could bear? What if the person waiting for her had ulterior motives? As she sat down to a quick breakfast, the thought of the letter loomed in her mind. Each line felt like a riddle, the words simultaneously a lifeline and a cloud of confusion. "I can't bear to lose you too," echoed in her ears, twisting her heart. Was that love or an escape plan? Mr. Thompson arrived just as she finished her coffee. He looked calm and reassuring. "Ready?" he asked gently. "Not really. But I have to be," Sarah admitted, gathering her strength as she stood. "Do you think I'll find the answers I need?" "Sometimes, knowing what you didn't expect can be more enlightening than what you'd hoped," he replied, his tone grounded in wisdom. They drove in silence, the rhythmic thump of the tires on the asphalt a steady companion to her thoughts. Sarah felt the world outside slip by, each familiar sight warping into an unfamiliar heaviness. The tension in her chest tightened with every mile. When they arrived at the cafe, warm scents of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, dulled by the ache in her heart. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. "Look for a tall woman with dark hair," Mr. Thompson instructed, scanning the crowd. His eyes brightened as he pointed. "There she is." Sarah's heart dropped as she locked eyes with a striking woman seated in a corner booth. There was something familiar about her features, a subtle resemblance that made her pulse quicken. This was the stranger who held pieces of her father's puzzle. As they approached, the woman looked up, a mix of anticipation and apprehension crossing her face. "Sarah?" she asked, voice a melody of warmth and uncertainty. "Yeah, I'm Sarah," she replied, her voice small. "Thanks for meeting me," the woman said, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I wasn't sure if you would come." Sitting down, Sarah felt the weight of countless unspoken words resting between them. "You knew my father," she stated rather than asked, searching for a glimpse of his spirit in this stranger. "I did," the woman replied softly, her voice thick with emotion. "And I owe you an explanation." The answer was right there, just an arm's length away. But Sarah felt a wave of doubt crest over her. Each revelation could either heal or shatter her. All her life, she'd searched for something solid, and now it was palpably close, yet frighteningly elusive. As the conversation unfolded, the woman revealed snippets of her father's life, floating in silently between hearts. Sarah's question held a weight that threatened to crush her. "Did he ever mention me? Did he ever think of coming back?" The woman hesitated, a shadow crossing her face. "He tried, but there were things he couldn't get past." Sarah felt her heart race. What could be so bad that love fell aside? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Anguish bloomed, tangled with hope. "What if I'm not ready for this?" she whispered, trembling. The answer to her unfinished question hung in the air, thick with possibility. The woman reached across the table, her hand warm and comforting. "We can take it step by step, together. You're not just piecing together heirlooms from the past, you're shaping your future too. Whatever comes next, you're going to face it." With every word, Sarah felt a flicker of light push through the shadows in her heart. But before she could respond, the cafe door swung open, and a familiar face stepped inside. A pang of recognition and worry struck her. Would this unexpected arrival change everything? Would the door to her past swing wide open, or was she walking into another storm? The bell above the cafe door chimed, pulling Sarah's attention away from the woman across the table. Her breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped inside, a man she hadn't seen in years, yet his presence felt as visceral as a lingering dream. It was Mark, her father's old friend. The world seemed to shrink around her, the chatter of the cafe fading into a dull hum. He scanned the room, his eyes landing on Sarah, widening in recognition. As he approached, memories flooded back, the stories he told of her father, the comfortable laughter shared over barbecues in their backyard. But they also brought with them a wave of painful nostalgia. Now, those happy times felt like shadows against the jagged reality she was grappling with. "Sarah, it's been a long time," Mark said, his voice low and steady. But Sarah could detect the tension there, the unsaid words pressing against his lips. "Yeah, it has." She struggled to take in his familiar features, the lines on his face telling stories of time and hardship. "What are you doing here?" He glanced quickly at the woman before returning his gaze to her. The silence stretched, the two of them caught in a tangled web of unspoken truths. "I was told I might find you here," Mark confessed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I came to see if you learned anything, if I could help." The woman sitting with Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "Mark, maybe you should know," he interrupted, the urgency in his voice cutting through the tension. "She deserves to know." Mark's eyes bore into Sarah's, solid and unyielding. She felt the weight of his stare, pulling her into the gravity of his unspoken concerns. "Look, Sarah, I know this is a lot. But your dad, he had more to him than you might think." "What do you mean?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, edged with fear and curiosity. He looked down, gathering his thoughts. "There were reasons he left. Personal things that changed him that may not be what you want to hear." Sarah's heart raced. Each word felt like a wave crashing over her, roiling her emotions. "Is it bad? Did he forget me?" No, it's not that simple." Mark hesitated again, clearly struggling with the burden of revelation. "He loved you more than anything. But he was trying to protect you from what?" Sarah pressed, her voice rising. What could he have been protecting me from, Mark? I need to know. The woman beside her reached out once more, and this time her grip felt more urgent. Sarah, let him explain. Please. Mark took a deep breath, and when he spoke, the echo of pain resonated in his voice. There were decisions he made that led to his disappearance. Situations he got tangled up in that were darker than any of us knew. Sarah felt her stomach drop. What kind of situations? Your father was involved in something. Mark's words trailed off, lost in hesitation. I didn't want to say it, but it was dangerous. And he thought leaving was the only way to keep you safe. Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift, the walls of her understanding fracturing. What kind of life had her father led? I don't understand. A lump formed in her throat, cutting off her voice. I thought he just left us. But this? You're going to see things differently, Mark replied, his expression softening. You might have to accept what he did to protect you, curious as it may be. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. How could she reconcile the father she loved with this shadowy figure Mark was painting? The truth felt like a distant, flickering light at the end of a dark tunnel. What now? She asked, the heaviness of her heart in her voice. What am I supposed to do with all this? Mark glanced at the woman beside Sarah, who gave him a barely visible nod. The complexity of their shared history lingered in the air. You don't have to decide everything today. Just don't give up on him yet. There's more we can uncover together. As she looked between Mark and the woman, an unfamiliar resolve ignited in Sarah's chest. There was no turning back now. She was on the edge of a deeper understanding of her father's life, a life interwoven with shadows, and perhaps, even within those shadows lay secrets meant for her to find. Okay, she finally said, determination coloring her tone. Let us untangle this. But just as a whirlwind of emotions began to settle, the cafe door swung wide open again. A man she didn't recognize walked in, his eyes scanning the room with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. What could this new arrival want? Could he bring answers, or would he complicate everything further? The man who stepped through the cafe door moved with an air of purpose, his gaze sharp as he swept across the room. He seemed strangely out of place amidst the rustic charm of the cafe, dressed in a dark jacket that contrasted sharply with the sunny colors around. Sarah's pulse quickened, an instinctual alarm ringing in her mind. Mark shifted his stance, body tense, and narrowed his eyes at the newcomer. What are you doing here, Daniel? He asked, his voice laced with apprehension. The man Daniel stopped at their table, his focus now solely on Sarah. You must be Sarah, he said, a tight smile tugging at his lips, masking something darker just beneath the surface. I've come to speak with you about your father. Her heart raced. What do you know about him? More than you might think, Daniel replied, his tone smooth yet edged with something unsettling. He pulled out a chair, as if he were invited, and sat without waiting for approval. His eyes held hers, unyielding. Your father was involved with some serious matters that affect you. Mark shifted, looking between them as if weighing his options. This isn't the time, Daniel. There are sensitive things happening. But it's exactly the time, Daniel insisted, raising his hands in a placating gesture. She deserves the truth, doesn't she? Sarah felt the weight of Mark's conflicted gaze, and she turned back to Daniel, her curiosity tainted by a tingling sense of danger. What do you know? Let's just say, Daniel started, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, your father wasn't just some ordinary man. He got tangled up with a group that could shake everything you thought you knew. What kind of group? The word slipped out of Sarah, quaking ever so slightly. Let's call them associates, he said, leaning closer. They were powerful and willing to do whatever it took to achieve their goals. Your father wanted to protect you, but that meant making some terrible decisions and ultimately stepping away from you. It could put you in danger, even now. Panic surged through her. Danger? What does that mean? Mark slammed his hand on the table, urgency exploding in his every motion. Enough, Daniel. Stop playing games. Daniel straightened, his bravado faltering under Mark's fierce gaze. I'm not here to play, I'm here to be honest. Sarah needs to understand that there are people looking for answers, and they might be willing to do anything to get to them. A chilling silence enveloped them, the cafe's lively chatter muffled by the gravity of the conversation. Sarah's breath hitched. You're saying I'm a target because of him? Not just you, Daniel said, his eyes flickering with something softer, almost sympathetic. Anyone connected to him could become collateral damage. That's why he left, Sarah. He thought by disappearing, he was keeping you safe. But the past was never going to let him go. But you said I deserved to know, she shot back, the heat of frustration rising in her chest. If there's a risk, then I need to know how to fight it. You're not prepared for this world, Mark warned, sounding desperate. You don't know the people involved, then teach me. Sarah interjected, a fierce determination igniting within her. Show me how to protect myself and understand my father. I can't turn away. Daniel sighed, regard softening the wall he had built wavering just slightly. There's no easy path, Sarah. But if you want the truth, you may need to step into the darkness. You're about to find out just how far your father went to shield you and what it might cost. The tension hung like a storm cloud, thick and heavy. Sarah's heart raced, the weight of her father's choices pressing down on her as she faced the perils that awaited. She thought she had come seeking answers, but instead, she was teetering on the edge of a dangerous revelation. As if to punctuate the moment, Daniel leaned in, his voice low and intense. Are you willing to see this the whole way through, Sarah? Because once you step forward, there's no going back. Caught between uncertainty and purpose, Sarah nodded, her spirit ignited. I'm ready. Mark's eyes spoke a different story, layered with concern and fear for her safety, just as the cafe door swung open yet again. A woman burst inside, breathless and frantic, calling Sarah's name. They're looking for you. Who exactly was coming for her, and what would come next? The frantic woman, who seemed to know something Sarah didn't, rushed to their table, her eyes wide with urgency. Sarah! You need to come with me. They've found your address, and they're getting closer. Who? Sarah's voice trembled. Her gut twisted, the air around her thickening with fear. Mark shot to his feet, blocking Sarah protectively. No one is taking her anywhere. We need to figure this out, not run blindly into danger. The woman seemed undeterred. You don't understand. This is serious. The people looking for her don't care about playing by the rules. They want answers and will use any means necessary to get them. Daniel frowned, the ease he had affected moments ago crumbling under the onslaught of panic. Where did you hear this? I have my sources, she replied curtly, brushing past him. She grabbed Sarah's arm, her grip firm yet reassuring. We need to get out of here. Now. Sarah met Mark's gaze, searching for reassurance, but all she saw was a storm of worry brewing within him. He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. I can't hide. I won tea. Not anymore. If they're coming for me, I want to know why. Are you sure? Mark asked, his voice low but urgent, trembling with the weight of his concern. Yes. The word burst from her, raw and fervent. She would face whatever darkness loomed ahead. I have to know what is going on. The woman nodded, leading Sarah out of the cafe and onto the bustling street. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows as patrons ambled past, unaware of the tempest brewing just beneath the surface. Who are you? Sarah asked as they hurried down the sidewalk. What is your connection to my father? I was a friend of his, the woman replied, glancing backward as if she expected someone to follow. But more importantly, I've been trying to keep tabs on the situation. When he went missing, I thought it may get dangerous for you, too. You mean I'm in danger because of him? Sarah felt the reality of it. Every heartbeat echoed like a countdown. Why didn't he tell me? Why didn't anyone? Because he thought he was protecting you. He thought by cutting off ties with everyone, including me, he was freeing you from the chaos that followed him, the woman explained, her expression softening. But secrets have a way of resurfacing. They reached her car, a nondescript sedan parked several blocks from the cafe, and the woman opened the door for Sarah. She paused, glancing behind one last time. Mark trailed close, still conflicted. Are you coming? Sarah asked, hesitating. She felt torn, wanting Mark at her side, but also yearning to face this unexplored journey with resolve. Of course I am, he responded fiercely, a protective fire igniting in his eyes. I wouldn't let you do this alone. With a nod of determination, Sarah climbed into the car, and both men joined her. The woman drove swiftly, weaving in and out of traffic, her expression flickering between focus and worry. Listen carefully. You're going to be thrust into something deeper than just your father's secrets, she warned, glancing in the rearview mirror frequently. This isn't just about him anymore. There are those who would stop at nothing to keep you from uncovering the truth. You're more than just a target, you're a key. A key? Sarah echoed, her pulse racing. What do you mean? It's complicated, and I'll explain, but right now she cut off, her voice dropping. We need to make sure we're not being followed. The car sped out of the city, heading toward the hills. Sarah felt a sense of trepidation, her heart pounding as they drove further into the unknown. What lay ahead? What truths would unravel? She clutched her dad's locket, the only anchor she had left amid the swirling chaos. What kind of key? What am I supposed to unlock? Just then, the car lurched. Tires screeched, and they all exchanged alarmed glances. In the rearview mirror, they could see a dark car pulling up fast behind them. Hold on. The woman yelled just as the chase intensified. What awaited them, and would Sarah be able to hold on to the truth she desperately sought? The tires screeched as the woman hit the gas, the car surging forward. Sarah's heart raced faster than the speedometer could climb. The dark sedan behind them didn't relent, its headlights glaring like a hungry predator. Drive faster. Mark shouted, gripping the seat like a lifeline. Sarah barely heard the woman's response as the engine roared. Stay calm. We just need to lose them. The dense trees lining the winding road blurred by, their shadows swallowing the warm glow of late afternoon. Sarah could feel her breaths coming quicker, anxiety wrapping around her like a vice. She looked at Mark, his face a mask of worry, and she felt both comforted and terrified. Moments ago, they were sharing laughs at the cafe, but now, they were hurtling into uncharted danger. Why are they after me? She asked, her voice shaky but resolute. What do they want? The woman shot a glance at Sarah, her eyes fierce with conviction. They want what your father hid. He knew too much, and it seems he passed that burden on to you. What kind of burden? I'll explain later, the woman urged, her focus narrowed on the road ahead. For now, we need to focus on losing our tail. Suddenly, the pursuing car surged forward, closing the distance. Sarah's heart pounded with each aggressive bump in the road. They're right behind us. She exclaimed. Just hang on. Trust me. The woman turned sharply, veering off the main road and onto a dirt path that jostled them all. The landscape transformed into a blur of grass and trees, a wild retreat from the metal jaws snapping at their heels. Mark leaned forward, anger and fear igniting his voice. Are you sure this is the right way? Trust me. She shouted again, navigating with skill. Sarah squeezed her locket tighter, a weighty anchor in this spiraling chaos. What was waiting for her at the end of this chase? The uncertainty gnawed at her insides. I wish I knew what I was unlocking. In a sudden burst of agility, the woman swerved into a narrow grove and floored the pedal. The trees around them seemed to close in, branches clawing at the car like desperate hands. A loud bang echoed, and the car jolted violently. What was that? Sarah gasped, her eyes wide. Just a flat. The woman yelled. I can fix it, but we need to hide. Without hesitation, she pulled into a clearing. Mark bolted out before the car even stopped, scanning the area. We can't stay here. They'll find us. Sarah looked at the woman, panic lacing her thoughts. What do we do? I can't be the reason you get hurt. Just drop me off somewhere safe. You're not a burden. The woman snapped back, firm but reassuring. You need to understand you have something in you, something they need. That's why they won't stop. As they crouched low beside the car, catching their breath, Sarah felt a surge of defiance. Then let them come. I'm not running any longer. She gazed into the woman's eyes, seeking assurance. But I need to know about my father, about all of this. Mark looked back at her, resolve tightening his jaw. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Together, Sarah echoed, feeling the flicker of hope amidst the chaos. Just then, the low rumble of an engine echoed from the direction they had come. She felt the weight of impending confrontation. A feeling deep in her gut warned her that answers were pulling closer just as the danger loomed. Hide! The woman hissed, and they ducked behind the car, adrenaline pulsing through Sarah's veins. What truth would they uncover? Would they confront the shadow that had chased them this far? As the dark car came into view, her heart raced not just with fear, but with the thrill of finally facing the unknown. And then, as the figures emerged from the car, Sarah took a deep breath. Was this the end of her hiding, or the beginning of something she never anticipated? The figures emerging from the car were sharply defined in the fading light, their silhouettes cast against the vibrant backdrop of a setting sun. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, the blend of fear and anticipation coursing through her like wild electricity. Stay low, the woman whispered, crouching beside the car. Mark pressed closer to Sarah, radiating strength in the form of his presence. The approaching figures were clad in dark jackets, their movements purposeful. They look serious, Mark murmured, his eyes narrowed. We need to stay quiet. As they drew nearer, Sarah held her breath, her mind swirling with 1,000 questions. Would they demand answers? What truth would spill from this meeting? The lead figure, a woman with a hardened expression, gestured towards the abandoned vehicle. Search the area. We know she's close, she ordered, her voice crisp as a knife slicing through silence. Panic rose in Sarah's throat like bile. They were looking for her. The weight of her father's secrets hung in the air like an invisible tether binding her to danger. What do we do if they find us? Sarah whispered, fear tightening around her throat. We fight, the woman replied, fierce and unwavering. First, we learn. Then we reclaim control. Just then, one of the figures paused near the tree line, scanning the area. His gaze swept across their hiding spot, making Sarah's heart skip a beat. Beads of sweat formed on her brow. What if he sees us? She murmured. There's nowhere to run. Just breathe, Mark said, steadying her. It was a simple comfort, yet it wrapped around her like a lifeline. As the thugs rummaged through the car, an idea sparked in Sarah's mind. I have to confront them, to face whatever this is, she said, her resolve strong now. I can't hide any longer. Are you sure about this? Mark asking, concern flashing across his face. I have to. It's the only way. If I'm meant to unlock my father's secrets, I have to stand up to those hunting for them, she affirmed, determination igniting within her as she pushed herself up. Stay back, the woman warned, but Sarah shook her head, taking a step forward. Stop! Sarah yelled, her voice ringing clear, slicing through the tension like a blade. The figures turned, the surprise flickering across their faces. I'm right here. The woman pivoted, a mix of admiration and fear dancing in her eyes. The lead figure approached, her gaze assessing, calculation behind those cold eyes. You're brave, I'll give you that. But do you understand the trouble you're in? I'm not afraid of trouble. I deserve to know the truth about my father, Sarah challenged, heart racing as she held the ground beneath her. The woman's expression shifted, a flicker of respect sparking as she now faced Sarah full on. Fine. But be aware, this is not just about you or your father. There are powerful people who will stop at nothing to bury these secrets. Then let them try, Sarah shot back, fiery resolve propelling her forward. She would not cower any longer, this was her path now. You want answers? I'll give you answers. The lead figure crossed her arms, an eyebrow raised. Then let us talk. But know this, you're entering a game you likely don't comprehend. My name is Claire, and we have unfinished business regarding your father, but you'll have to trust me. As they gathered around in the clearing, Sarah's pulse quickened again, but now it was with clarity and determination. The dark web woven by her father's history threatened to suffocate her, yet she felt something shift within her. Every secret kept was a danger that she had the power to unravel together with the woman who offered her an unexpected alliance. I want to understand him and whatever he was entangled in, Sarah said firmly, her voice steadier with each breath. But first, I want to understand why I'm a target and how I can fight back. Then listen closely, Claire replied. Your father had connections that went deep into dealings blurred by lines of morality. He made choices to protect you, but that only fractured your relationship with him and disrupted the web of safety. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. Uncovering the entanglements of her father's life meant facing the very fears she had kept buried. Tell me more. I'm ready. Sarah felt the resolve solidifying in her core. This was the start of reclaiming her narrative. As the sun dipped below the horizon, shadows stretched over them, and Sarah realized she wasn't just confronting the darkness of her father's past, she was igniting the dawn of her own story. Whatever waited behind those shadows, she would face it head on, and in that moment, surrounded by allies even if only for now, Sarah felt a flicker of hope dance within her heart. She was strong enough to forge her path, to piece together her father's secrets and use them to create a future of her own choosing. Hope bloomed like a flower pushing through cracks in the concrete, and she knew she was ready for whatever would come next. Make no mistake, Sarah was no longer just a daughter lost in shadows, she was embarking on her own quest fearlessly, courageously, resolutely. The first real step towards freedom and truth had just begun. Before you go, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately to catch our next exclusive stories that dive deep into transformation and resilience. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and support amazing, heartwarming journeys that need to be shared. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about Sarah's incredible journey. This is your moment to let us know how you connect. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Your support helps bring stories that matter to life.